All right, that's an official welcome to this webinar on Stop Holding Back, how to say 100% yes to your goals and really to live your values, because anyone who knows me knows that it's more about values than it is about goals. And your goals should always help you to live your values. In fact, that's one of the reasons why people are holding back, because they're not 100% clear on their values. So thanks to everyone who's turned up live. We had way over 300 people. I didn't check the final numbers, but it was 300 last night, and before I put out a promo again. But of course, there's only a few people who make the effort to turn up live or watch the recording. So those of you who are doing either of those things, thank you. I really appreciate it. I know I've signed up to a lot of things and not watched them either because, you know, things get in the way. That's one of the things that holds us back from achieving our goals, is because I was going to say we allow distractions, but distractions will come anyway. So no, Brenda, this is just a webinar style. You won't be seeing everyone in this. Although in 100% Yes, the group coaching program, everybody sees everyone. This webinar style allows everybody to be a little bit private, but I will be looking for hopefully a couple of volunteers if we have time. So having said that, let's get into this and let me share some stuff with you. And then I want to show you some of this process. So this is about getting unstuck. And you're here because you know what that is. And I have known that a lot in my life. In fact, I was meant to do this because I have, you know, at various times of my life has been the king of procrastination and not moving and being stuck. And of course, it still goes through cycles, but boy, oh boy, since I, number one, learned tapping and then incorporated that into this work, then some stuff I learned along the way that I want to show you and hopefully show you as much as possible of that today, about how you can apply the tapping to release the blocking beliefs and values conflicts and attachment to false values and stuff that gets in your way, and free up energy so that you can really go for it. But the biggest shift has been learning intention tapping. And so let me get through this so that we can get to that, because I want to show you that today. And for those of you who know that, hopefully show you a little bit more about that. So this, of course, we have to get through the disclaimers. This is informational and educational. It's not medical advice. Although the intention tapping process that I use and the processes in 100% Yes program are, many of them are evidence-based, the whole combination must be considered experimental until we have sufficient research on the combination. Then we have to say there's no real guaranteed outcomes. Just because it's worked for a lot of people doesn't guarantee that it will work exactly in that way for any particular person. So therefore, particularly if you have physical and mental health issues, you should be consulting a physician and or therapist. Okay, so my aim, as I've mentioned in the lead up to this, is to give you as much of the 100% Yes processes as I can cram into this webinar. And I promise I'll do my best to give you as much of what's useful. Of course, 100% Yes is a program, and we do it over 6 months. And we still don't cover it all. That's why, you know, every time we run through again, people often come back, because you can go deeper, you can go further into beliefs, you can go further into working on values and so on. And of course, what happens in the program is hopefully what will happen here. If you apply this process, you'll find that what you thought was success today is not what you will think of as success once you release some of your blocking beliefs and limiting ideas about what's possible for you in your life. So the whole process about releasing resistance, and the key is that you need to change how you feel as well as what you do. It's not enough just in this program. It's not about just changing your vibration, everything will come to you. No, it's being able to go out and get it and make things happen. And rather than just learning to surf waves, learning how to make waves. So the process that I call 100% Yes evolved over a number of years. It started in my peak performance work with athletes and business people. And, it was really about achieving goals in the beginning. And then I realized the importance of beliefs and values to that process. And then we add in the tapping to really supercharge the shifts that you can get, and intention tapping, which takes that to another level. So these are the main steps of the process. First of all is deciding what success is to you. Some people don't even like the word success. So you could say, decide what you want, decide what a good life would be. And then you've got to decide to have it. So, I say decide what success is to you, and then decide to succeed in your own way. And your own way is going to mean that it's going to depart from other people's ways. And so maybe you have to do like, I've got a title of a book up there that says The Courage to Be Disliked. Well, you may need to overcome that, because your way isn't necessarily going to be everyone else's way. And you should be free to live your life the way that you want to live it. In order to do that, and the minute you decide to make a change, you would know that up comes your limiting and blocking BS. Now, this is belief systems, right? But it's also a whole bunch of BS in the informal, true sense of that word, because we're often held back by, just a whole bunch of rubbish ideas that we've picked up, or ideas and concepts or ways of seeing things that were helpful when we were living in a war zone, but now that we're out of the war zone, they're not helpful in living in the land of peace. And so we're still reacting as if we're in the war when we're really in the land of peace. And so sometimes it's just a matter of getting the scales to drop from your eyes so that you can see that you're safe, and that what you want is right here, and you can just have it, just take it, just receive it. There's no true success without values clarification. There's no real achievement without being clear about what's most important. So I believe success is about clarifying and living your true values. And I talk about true values and false values because we can be attached to other people's values. And we can be attached to the false values of society, because people are trying to hook us all the time emotionally to say, hey, this is important, this is important, this is what you need to do, this is what success is. And you know what? You can get a lot of that stuff and find that isn't satisfactory to you. It isn't satisfying to you because it's not your true values. And so, the worst version of this is the old cliche that you spend your whole life climbing the ladder of success, and then you find that your ladder is leaning against the wrong wall. So values is a huge part of the 100% yes process, and we're only going to be able to touch on that today. And then once you're clear on your values, then you set your goals. You don't just set your goals first, you set your goals once you've clarified your true values and released your attachments to false values using tapping in this process. Now, often at this point, people change step one. They change their definition of success. They say, hey, what I thought I wanted before, I realize I don't want now because I've released my emotional attachments to these false values and things. And so the process is kind of cyclical quite often, and we cycle through. The goals that you set now are not going to be the goals that you set in 6 months' time, especially if you start applying these processes to releasing your attachments to blocking beliefs and false values. So you'll be able to see more, you'll be able to understand more, you'll be able to be more in touch with yourself and get more of what you want. And that's the aim here, because 100% yes to me is really freeing you up to be who you are, living your life your way. Of course, just because you set a goal, that's not enough, right? There's a process to build commitment and to go through processes of planning and preparation and practice and taking action and persisting. And that's the challenge for people often is getting going. Some people have problems at step one. Some people have the biggest problems at step 6 or 5, 6 or 7, And I think it's Robert Schuller said, behind all spectacular achievement is unspectacular preparation. So you know what? You have to get yourself over the fact that it's unspectacular. So I want to just quickly take you through some of the key steps and questions. So at step one, there's really two key decisions that you make. Decide what you want and decide to have it. Some people actually have trouble deciding what they want. And so then, you know, the tapping for you is actually on maybe whatever's blocking you from being able to see what you want, or even to think that you can have what you want. I always say, if you're in the quicksand, your only goal is to get on solid ground. And so, of course, you're going to set different, make different decisions if you're stuck in the mud than if you've already taken a few steps forward. And maybe if you've been pushed down a lot, maybe you even are so blocked that you think that you can't have what you want. And so the tapping at that point is on those blocks and those beliefs. But the decision ultimately is going to be what you want and to have it. So you might have done step one, you might have decided what you want, but have you decided to make it happen? Have you decided to make it real? And that's where the rubber hits the road, because when you go to do that, when you go to achieve whatever success is to you, then your blocking beliefs are all going to come up. So this is the starting point where you just say, okay, what do I want? What is success to me? What would be a good life? What would be fun to do? What would be great to create? Whatever it is for you. And as I mentioned, when you do that, your limiting BS is going to come right up to the surface. And that's actually good, because now the stuff which was not conscious to you, it was in your subconscious, becomes conscious, and now you can actually work through it. You can't work with it when it's unconscious, when it's in your subconscious and not available to your conscious mind. When it becomes conscious, then you can start to release your emotional attachments to it. And people say it's limiting thinking, but actually it's the emotional attachments to the thinking about your goal, your career, your life, your potential, about what's possible to you or to yourself, the way you think about yourself, your identity. And in 100% Yes, we work a lot on your identity beliefs, because this is top of the tree. You can have a belief about a person and that will affect how you treat that person. But if you have a belief about yourself, that will affect everything about your life. So change that and you can change so much. Now, some of you, many of you, especially those of you who already know me, you've seen this slide 1,000 times, because I bring it up every time to explain that this was really where I made the discovery of intention tapping. Not because I didn't know that it was attachments that cause suffering. I'd already been aware that that when you use tapping on a thought that upsets you, then it releases the emotional attachments, and then you can have the same thought and you don't suffer. So it's not the thoughts, it's the attachments to the thoughts. It's the emotional attachments that cause our suffering. But when I read this line, and I don't know whether it was the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th times that I had read this in Byron Katie's book, that was when I had the insight. Yeah, that's what tapping does. It releases that attachment. It releases the emotional attachment. What if we could use intention? And in that moment, I formed a simple intention that has now become part of what I call intention-based energy process, which is a process of using intention to release emotional attachments, restore energy flow and balance in the body. And this has just turned out to be a profound thing, and it's helped many thousands of people already. And at the time, it was just something that came to me, and I used it and it worked. I formed the simple intention. I release all my emotional attachments to this problem, and instantly, felt a big shift, just like the kind of big shifts that I got from using tapping. And at that time, I wasn't using tapping. I was simply using the intention. So, and then after using it and having it work, I realized that I had, this disturbance in my body, in my chest. And again, I realized that when you do tapping, tapping restores the energy flow. So you have a disturbance in flow, you have a blockage in flow, and tapping restores the flow. And again, I had this insight: what if we could just use intention to restore energy flow? So I formed a simple intention. I restore the right energy flow to my chest. Instant expansive deep breath, and yeah, it turns out that we can use intention to release emotional attachments and restore energy flow, and we can also use it to restore the balance of energies in our body. And so these core intentions have become the core part of what I coined intention-based energy process, and which we combine with tapping to produce what I now call intention tapping. So the type of tapping that we use, I developed with my good friend, Dr. David Lake, who lives over in Newport in New South Wales in the northern beaches of Sydney. He developed a lot of these innovations that we use in SET, simple energy techniques. And we originally learned EFT, which is the most well-known form of tapping from Gary Craig, emotional freedom techniques. And it's a fantastic, fantastic approach. And it's the most popular and well-known approach to tapping. But we questioned some of the things that were used in EFT, and we simplified it. And we found that this simple version that we came up with could be taught to little children, even if they didn't have the same language as us, and they could get results with it. And so there is Dr. David Lake. He is now retired, and I like to say that now that he's retired, I get to take the credit for all of the things that he discovered that are incorporated into the simple tapping approach that I now use in intention tapping. And so for everyone who may be new to this is something, I'm not going to go into the basics today of tapping, simply tapping on these points which are part of acupressure and acupuncture. These particular points that were originally used in thought field therapy, TFT, emotional freedom techniques, EFT, and are also incorporated into SET, have been known for many years, and there's now been a huge amount of research on them. And the process of tapping on these particular accessible acupressure points is very profound in terms of releasing stress, in terms of changing brain chemistry, in terms of reducing stress chemicals in the brain and increasing the positive chemicals, changing the brain waves, changing brain activity, and changing how you feel, and therefore changing what you do. They've been well researched now. Okay, so those of you who know the tapping, you can already start, because you know that we in SET developed the concept of energy toning, whereby if you tap on these points continually, then you just get the benefits of tuning and toning your energy system so that your stress comes down and your good life energy comes up. And then in the processes that we used in 100% Yes, which I'll hope to demonstrate some of shortly, we apply that and focus on particular issues. Okay, so this starts with identifying blocking beliefs. And today I want to show you how you might apply this to working with your blocking beliefs using the simple process of tapping combined with intentions that I call intention tapping. So first of all, one of the best ways to identify your blocking beliefs is to think about a big goal. So think about a big goal that you have right now, and then notice what comes up. And for many of you, there might be some really good feelings about, oh yeah, that would be great. But there might also be some blocking beliefs that become conscious, such as, oh, you're not disciplined enough to do that, or, that's not possible for me, or I'm too old for that, or I'm too young for that, or, I don't deserve that, or I'm not good enough, I'm not enough, whatever. Okay. The other thing you can do is you can ask yourself some questions. What would need to happen for you to succeed, or to achieve this goal, or to have this kind of life, whatever it is? And that will identify your beliefs, some good, some bad. Then what prevents you? What prevents you from having that now? Okay, that's going to identify some of your beliefs. And here's one that my friend Carol Look uses, which I find really helpful. She says, what would be the downside of success? And so, strangely enough, for a lot of people, when they think about succeeding, there's a yes and a no. There's part of them that wants it, and part of them that doesn't. There's part of them that thinks this is going to be good, and then they think, well, yeah, but this would also happen. That would be bad. I'm going to get, really successful and really well known, and then I'm going to get rejected and criticized, and people are going to, write horrible things about me on social media and so on and so on. Those kinds of things hold people back all the time from taking steps forward. And it isn't just, the fear that something bad might happen. There's not just fear of failure, because of course, a lot of people have that. There's also fear of success, I've found. So we can use intention tapping when we become aware of those blocks, when we become aware of the beliefs that come up that start saying, why we can't have that, or why we're not allowed to have that, or why we're not good enough to have that. And so the simple process is to release your emotional attachments to the belief, however you're aware of it. So some people, the minute they think about their goal, they have a conflicting thought. All right, whatever that conflicting thought is, you can release your emotional attachments to that. Now, releasing emotional attachments can be done by using tapping alone, and it can also be done by using intention tapping, as I'll show you. And then you want to restore the energy flow in your body and to the feelings, because feelings are meant to move, and they're meant to move us and move through us, not be stuck. So, for example, you think about your goal, and then you get this fear, let's say. Okay, well, if that fear stays attached to that thing, then you're probably not going to move forward, because fear often causes us to avoid, or anxiety causes avoidance. And so what we want to do is we want that feeling to start to move and flow, so that we can move and flow, and we can think differently, and we can feel differently, and we can act differently. And so the basic process is mapped out here, but I could spend hours explaining how to do this. What I want to do in a moment is demonstrate this. So I'm going to come back in a moment off the slides and ask for someone to volunteer. And I'll be looking for someone who actually has maybe something that you want to achieve. And then we'll be looking at whatever the blocking beliefs are coming up that are stopping you from being able to achieve that. And then we'll do some intention tapping on that. And I'll show people how to use intention tapping. So this is a process. You notice the belief, however you're aware of it. Some people are aware of it because it's a voice in their head. Some people it's just a thought. Some people it's an image. Maybe you see yourself as less than other people. So maybe you see them as bigger and yourself as smaller. Whatever it is, we start releasing emotional attachments, first of all, by starting using the simple tapping, and then by using the intentions to release emotional attachments, so that belief really no longer has any power over you. And then we restore the energy flow to the feelings and to the area where that disturbance is happening. And then we follow. We notice whatever comes next, we accept whatever comes, and we follow as different aspects arise, and release our emotional attachments to whatever else is attached to this. It might lead back to where you learned this belief. It might lead back to places where you felt these feelings before. It might lead into related events or other beliefs that support this belief. And it might lead into other meanings that you've made and vows and what I call trance patterns that were set up, where you're in a trance. You see something and you react with a trance reaction, like, I'm not good enough, or I can't have that, or, you're not worthy, or whatever it is. That's trance that you get hooked into. And the key here, and the key in intention tapping, is that it's not about the events that happen to you. It's the attachments that you've formed. It's not about the thoughts that you're having. It's the attachments to those things. It's the emotional attachments that are causing your suffering. And, you know, maybe, yeah, you had some bad things happen in your life earlier, but it's not those things that happened to you. It's what you attached to at the time, the meanings you took from that. You know, this means I'm no good. This means I'm not lovable. This means the world's a scary place. This means I don't get what I want. Whatever it means that's still playing out for you right now is stopping you from having whatever it is you want. And that's what we want to release your attachments to. And if you do that, your life can change, and it can change radically. So here's where I want to look for volunteers. And I think oh my gosh, okay, I know I've got some volunteers here. I'm going to go back to the first one, Maureen. Okay, Maureen. Now you have to have, first of all, before you come on, you're going to need to have a working video, good internet, and of course, be willing to be recorded, whatever we say and do. So as long as that's the case, Maureen, if you just confirm that that's the case, and then I'll bring you on as our volunteer, and we can do some intention tapping. Okay, good. All right. So I'm promoting you to panelist. You'll get you'll need to click to okay with that, and then we'll be able to bring you on screen. Okay, and so now you need to switch your video on, and you need to switch your audio on. Okay, here she is. All right, so now let's just make it gallery view. Now you have someone in the background, so I'm going to ask, maybe can that person go somewhere else?
You want to go over? She's going to sit down across me from me here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
you're both participating in the webinar. It's just going to be distracting for everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Around in the background.
As long as you're not on the video.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
Now here's the way this works. First of all, we do continual tapping. Are you familiar with tapping?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you know the tapping, are you familiar with the way I use tapping?
I haven't worked with you before.
Okay, great. Well, that's really good. So if you know the points because you've learned them in EFT or something else, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to use this, and we're not going to worry about setup statements or reminder statements or any of that stuff. We're just going to tap on the points, and you can tap on them in any order on either side for as many taps on each point as you like. I just want you to be tapping the whole time. And now, everybody who's watching, if you tap as well, you're going to get benefits, borrowing benefits. This is the great thing, and this is one of the best things about doing this in a group. You know, in our groups, so many people say, "Oh, I got so much benefit from tapping along with Fred or with, you know, Georgina or whoever." Just by doing that, they get benefits on their own issues. So of course you'd be familiar with that process. Okay. So now while we're doing the tapping, we're just going to keep tapping continually. And the tapping will sometimes be a little bit in the background, and other times we might focus on certain things, right? Okay. Now, do you use the finger points at all?
I have.
Okay, because a lot of people learn EFT, they don't learn about the finger points anymore because that's part of the original longer version of EFT. So, you know, we tap on the side of the thumb, side of the index finger, side of the middle finger, and the side of the ring finger, even though technically, you know, you could tap on the other side, and the side of the little finger and the side of the hand like this. Lastly, a lot of people find it really helpful to use the thumb of the same hand to tap on those points. And that is a discrete way of taking tapping anywhere. So I could be tapping here and you wouldn't know that I was doing it. I could be tapping under the table when I'm about to do my presentation. You wouldn't know I was doing it. I could be doing this, you know, with my arms folded or hands in my jacket if I was wearing one. And you can tap or you can rub the points. And it's just a a simple, easy way of self-soothing, calming yourself and getting the tapping into where the problem happens. Because sometimes, you know, you're not going to wander into a room where, you know, you have to do a performance and tap on your face, unless you're in a group of tappers, right? Okay.
Right.
All right. So you keep tapping, and every now and again, if I can't see, I might just check that you're doing that.
Right.
Now, what's your goal? What is it that you want to achieve? What is it that you feel like you're maybe held back from?
A regular, vigorous exercise.
Okay. Well, that one's going to be very common. All right. I want some people to type in the chat if they have problems getting themselves to do regular, vigorous exercise. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, so we could say, you know, what prevents you from doing that right now, but let me ask you instead. Yeah. So Noel says, yep. Okay. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of other people that have that as well. Nancy says, yes, absolutely. Martha, yes, exercise is a challenge. All over the world, people are not getting to do their workouts and things like that, and finding things to get in the way. Okay, so when you think about that, what happens? What do you notice?
It's easy to get distracted. It's hard to get motivated. And sometimes I don't feel that strong. And so I'm kind of dragging myself, and then I just change my plan.
Okay, so when you talk about it, it already feels exhausting.
Yeah, heavy.
Yeah, okay. And so this is what it is. It's like you think about doing your thing and you get this heavy feeling. So it's like,
Exactly.
that's not 100% yes, that's 100% no.
You're right. You caught me.
Let's go forward and have some more bad feeling. Okay. So this is what I mean, is like when you think about it and you get that feeling, then you tend to act on that feeling.
Right.
Okay. So it's a yes, I want to do this, and then it's a no and heaviness. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So are you aware right now of any feelings in your body connected with that?
Well, I feel the heaviness, and just as you were just finishing your talk there, I started getting a headache right here.
Yeah.
And some a feeling of dissension in my lungs. They just went down.
Oh wow.
The energy.
Let's go and have some headache and lung congestion and heaviness. No,
right.
Thank you. I don't want to sign up for that, right?
Right.
Okay. So we could work on the body feelings, or we can work on the thoughts. And either way will work, because and it's not the thoughts that we're working on, it's the emotionally attached thoughts. And because there's emotional attached to them, there will be a body component, because that's where we feel things. And if we didn't have a bad feeling, we just go, hey, let's do it. Let's go forward.
Okay.
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 So
right.
Let's say I release all my emotional attachments to regular vigorous exercise. Now, I'm deliberately said those three things because I think for you, all three of them have emotional attachments.
I agree.
And so
I agree.
That's three different aspects already. Okay. Regular, vigorous exercise, because you got like criteria for those. Okay. So
right.
Just let that do what it does now. We say the intention, and then we let the unconscious mind take that and do what it does. And I want you to notice what comes next.
I have a headache back here now.
Right. Okay. So now we have a body disturbance. So that's when we use the restoring energy flow statements. Say,
okay.
I restore. Right energy flow. To my head. And then you just let it do whatever it does. And just notice. Don't try and make it do anything. Your only job is to notice what's happening. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, whatever. And just tell us.
It's changing. It's changing. It's not all concentrated on the left side now.
Okay, so has it spread out? Is it?
Now it's coming back and forth. As soon as I said it wasn't on the left side, it went right back.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So just say, I release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachments
To what feelings I should not be having.
to what feelings I should not be having.
Yeah. Because I have a
I
sense.
feel a little confused as you're talking, which I think is a good thing, right?
Well, yeah, because your mind is kind of scrambling a little bit, right? But
Okay,
of course, this is the difference doing it with someone else versus doing it yourself. But when you do it yourself, you just notice whatever thought you have and you use it
right.
on. Okay. I just
Sure.
am sensing that you've got some dissatisfaction with the feelings that you're having about this. And so therefore
Right.
you actually have, I would call it emotional attachments to the feelings themselves.
Okay, I can go with that.
In other words, like some people, everybody has, bad feelings that come up, and some people get themselves to go forward anyway. Okay.
Sure.
And some people say, oh, this feeling is okay. And other people are like, no, I should not be feeling this feeling. Okay. So I'm kind of putting you in that category, if that's okay.
I think I'm there.
Yeah. So now just let that do what it does. And just notice.
I just noticed I took a really deep breath.
Yeah.
That's the first one since we started.
Yeah. So that's very, very common with tapping, as you know, and it's also with intention tapping, it's extremely common. It happens very regularly, okay? Along with yawning or shaking or, sighing or whatever. So just think about the issue now. Think about the fact that you want to do regular, vigorous exercise and notice what you notice.
Not as heavy, but I feel a lot of tension in my shoulders. It's like a band, but the weight is different.
Okay, so just say, I restore.
I restore
The right energy flow.
the right energy flow.
To my shoulders.
My shoulders.
And just let it do whatever it does. And just notice.
There is a wave of just relaxing energy that's flowing down the back of my head.
Yeah.
So I'm noticing that.
Yeah. Now, I said to people we were going to work on beliefs, but really we've just been working on, well, attachments are beliefs. So like an attachment to something is a belief. What is a belief if it isn't a strong emotionally attached concept or idea? Okay. And so that's the stronger the emotion attached to it, the more we believe it. Okay. So, I could say, what do you believe about exercise? And some of those beliefs might be ones that are tying into this problem. What do you believe about vigorous exercise? And some of those beliefs will tie into this problem. What do you believe about regular exercise? I'm going to take a punt and say that some of your beliefs are related to shoulds.
To what?
Shoulds.
I don't understand. I can't figure out that word.
What you think you should be doing.
Oh, shoulds. Got it. Thank you.
Sorry, accent, Australian.
That's okay. It's a lovely accent. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for explaining it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can relate to that. Mhm.
I can see that because when I say it, some of that comes into your body, right? You're kind of crushed a little bit by that.
Caught.
This is what we teach our practitioners in intention tapping, to notice that, what the emotion is attached to, what the energy does, just mentioning the should gives you the pressure. Okay. So
That's
just
right.
say, I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to the exercise I should be doing.
to the exercise I should be doing.
And then just let it do whatever it does.
My first feeling is I want to cry.
Yeah. So isn't that
It
interesting?
feels very emotional. Yeah.
Which means the minute you do this, the emotion starts to come up, right?
Yeah.
Emotion starts to move. So just say, I restore
I restore
right energy flow
right energy flow
to these feelings.
to these feelings.
And just let them do whatever they do. We're not about getting rid of feelings. We're about allowing feelings to flow and move, rather than the resistance to feelings is one of the biggest problems that people have. So when I hear people saying, tap it away, tap your way out of this, I think, well, no. Tap to allow the feeling to move, because that's what it wants to do.
Yeah, I feel calmer.
Yeah, okay. So now, what is it about that's the biggest should? The regular, the vigorous, the exercise? What is this?
Should be more disciplined.
All right, okay. So just say, I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to I should be more disciplined.
to I should be more disciplined.
And just let that percolate for a moment and see what happens.
Well, the immediate thought is this fear that I'm lazy.
Okay. So now these are some of the beliefs about discipline, the beliefs about laziness. These are all kind of holding you down, if that makes sense. Beliefs about what you should do,
Right.
which is about good, bad, right, wrong, all that kind of crap. Okay. Excuse my French. That's all in there, right? So just say, I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to not being lazy.
to not being lazy. So I just get confused when the knots show up. So
Yeah,
I'm okay. I'm going with it, but I'm just reporting.
I know.
Like, I don't understand what I just said. It's funny. It's like,
Well, because I think you're more attached to trying not to be lazy.
yeah, I think you're right.
That would be a sin. Does that make sense?
It is a sin in my house. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So then, like, you're not allowed to have this. And so any parts of you that want that have got to be banished and disowned. Except anytime you make part of yourself wrong, then you suffer. So we could have done it on, I release all my emotional attachments to being lazy, or I release all my emotional attachments to I am lazy, or,
Mhm.
whatever. I just think there's a real attachment to never being seen to be lazy.
Yeah. And I really want to exercise, you know what I mean? And so I get very frustrated. It's like, why won't you just do it?
Just,
Like, just do it.
yeah. Well, also, why don't you just be lazy?
That's harder. It's not that I don't do it, but you're right. I don't want to do it in front of other people.
Yeah. Just say, I release all my emotional attachments
I release all my emotional attachments
to being seen to be lazy.
to being seen to be lazy or being accused of being lazy.
Yeah. Now, this is going to sound really weird, But I suspect that if you release some of your resistances and aversions to being lazy, then you're going to end up with a whole different, more balanced life.
Well, I know it takes a lot of energy to keep a thought form active. So if that thought form's gone, then that energy's there, right?
It doesn't take energy to keep a thought form active. It's active because it has energy attached to it, and it's got your precious life energy attached to it. And somewhere along the line, you attached energy to that thing, and now you think that the thought is actually the thing, but it's just the energy that's the issue. Okay, so we say it's not the thought, it's the emotional attachment. And without that, once you release that, then you can have that thought, and you can even hold that thought right in front of you, just like, no, it's got nothing. Okay. So just say, I release
all
my resistances and aversions to laziness.
to laziness. It's a little scary.
Of course it is. Oh my God, the lazy bugs will take over. You won't have any ambition. You'll just.
My God, exactly. My God, how will I pay my bills? Oh my God. Yeah.
That's right. So that's some of the attachments you've got that prevent you from being able to relax, for example. And they keep you in high pressure mode, hypervigilance, hyper alert, hyper anxious, hyper stressed all the time, as if that's necessary to make you achieve.
Right. Right. Because I'm afraid if I don't put that pressure on myself, I won't take action.
Exactly. And look how effective that's been.
It's not working very well. Oh, you got me there.
Just say, release all my emotional attachments.
I release all my emotional attachments.
Do I need pressure?
I'm sorry, to what?
I need pressure.
I need pressure.
To get me to do what I want.
To get me to do what I want. A lot going on.
And just notice, just let it keep doing whatever it does. And sometimes, you can keep letting this percolate and you just keep tapping and allowing it to move and move and move. And as long as there's still movement and things are moving through, you just let it keep going. But then if it stops or another aspect comes up, or there's another thing that doesn't shift, that's when you make a new target.
Okay.
So just notice.
Feels like things are unraveling inside my body.
In what way?
Especially up here.
Well, unraveling, that could be a bad thing.
Don't say that.
No, well, I just became.
I think of it as a good thing, like it's kind of unwrapping.
That's why I'm actually
something that's knotted up,
I'm hopefully playfully just testing that out.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to plant ideas in your mind. But by the way, you might want to use this because then you don't have to attach to ideas people give you and react to them. You can just realize that they're just thoughts or that they're just that person's stuff or whatever. And you're no longer kind of just getting hooked here and hooked there and hooked everywhere. You make your own decisions. So just go back, just for the sake of the exercise, and check in with your exercise, thinking, feeling, reactions, and so on. And just tell me what you notice, good, bad, or ugly.
I feel calm in my body, calmer. Okay. And My jaw isn't as tight as it was when we started. My jaw was really tight.
Yep.
And, you know, the thought about thinking I'm lazy, fearing that I'm lazy, it's like, I know that I'm not, but I still, it's just had a big hold over me. So I feel like it's like a little farther away, kind of like on an ice floe floating. It's not as
Yeah.
close.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, which means it doesn't have as much hold over you as a kind of threat-based mechanism, which is what it is, right? You know, you're getting
Right. I didn't realize it. Yeah. It's like being held hostage.
get smacked
Right.
for being lazy, right? And then you internalize the smacking process.
Exactly. No, totally. Yeah.
The reason why we do that is because if you're you know, in a class or, you know, in a family or in a learning system or whatever it is, where you get smacked, whether either literally or metaphorically smacked, you know, told off, yelled at, made wrong, whatever, when you do certain things, then you internalize that process as a way of reminding yourself, hey, if you're doing this, you're going to get caught and you're going to get in trouble. So
You're going to get in trouble. Yeah.
so here's a reminder of how that feels so that you can avoid getting in trouble. Okay. Yeah.
I see. Got it.
Yeah. And then now you're in a world where the smackers are not here, but they're internalized.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to punishing
to punishing
my way to exercise.
my way to exercise. A lot of sadness comes up.
Yeah.
Very sad.
I restore the right energy flow
I restore the right energy flow
to this sadness.
to this sadness.
So just like with EFT, we're working on aspects, but we're actually working on whatever comes up. And as soon as we find something that's got a strong emotion attached to it, we release the emotional attachment, we restore the energy flow wherever it's blocked, and then we just let it do whatever it does and just notice whatever comes next. So, you know, just all your only job is to follow and notice what comes next. And if you still have a problem, then you continue with the process.
So my head hurts on this side now.
Yeah, I restore
I restore
the right energy flow
the right energy flow
to this area.
to this area.
And you don't need to say to the back of my head. Like the minute you're aware of it, you're saying, I restore the right energy flow to this area because your unconscious mind knows where that is.
Okay, that's helpful. Because
Yeah.
I can get tied up with being totally specific, which is another rope, you know,
This breaks a lot of the
doing
rules
it perfect.
where you have to do it right and you have to use the right words and you have to be very specific. Well, with,
Right.
with intention tapping, it's much more free flowing. We can follow wherever it is, and
Right.
you know, those rules don't apply.
I like that.
Yeah, I get the sense you're a rule breaker from way back, or you maybe wanted to.
Yeah, that's true. Got me in a lot of trouble. Yep.
That's right. The only problem is that now we're end up breaking rules for ourselves and stopping ourselves from doing things we actually want.
Right.
Because nobody wants to do anything that they're forced to do, even if it's them doing it for their own good. Okay, so the ultimate thing for you with the exercise is going to be releasing your emotional attachments to force and working out what you want to do.
Okay.
So just try this and just say, I want to exercise.
I want to exercise.
It's a no, right?
I just want the
not a
results
yes,
without doing
Lori.
it.
That's not a
What?
I want the results without doing it. Yeah. I sort of
No.
I'll pay someone who will exercise my body for me. Yeah.
It's terrible. It's terrible. My God. Oh, it's
Yes.
terrible. It's embarrassing.
Just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments.
to I don't want to exercise.
So I don't want to exercise. Oy, oy, oy.
Yeah.
Kind of like taking your clothes off in front of everybody. It's what it feels
Well,
like.
a lot of people here who are the same way. I want to get results in my business without marketing. You know, I want people just to come. You know, I want people to sign up for all my courses without me having to even create websites or anything.
Okay, we're in the same family. I got you. Wow, it's kind of a relief to have realized that. I've
Yeah.
said that out loud, you know?
That's right. Yeah. And ultimately, unless you find some good reasons that are really good reasons for you, you're not going to.
Well, I have good reasons. I want to feel stronger.
Mhm.
I've lost a lot of strength as I've gotten older, and that's not okay for me, you know?
Okay, all right. So, and so now what we have is we now have a push-pull. We have a push between the part of you that wants it and the part that doesn't. So the next,
Right.
so now we're talking about different things. We're talking about your motivation, which is your emotional emotional pull.
Barometer. Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Right.
what I think is, well, their emotional drivers is the word I was looking for. Okay, so first there's the beliefs you have about the thing, and then there's the values, and values are the reasons why. And if you don't get to the reasons why, and you don't actually work out that push-pull, then at the moment, the push is harder than the pull, if that makes sense. Or the push away, the repulsion is harder than the attraction. It's stronger.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. But that's value stuff. But we might just pause here, and I'll talk a little bit about value stuff, because values
Sure.
it's really core to the 100% yes process. And what I suggest for you to do is, number one, to start thinking more about why you want this and what would be good about it. And so that's the yes, that's the attractive stuff. And then I want you to think, really, now that we've opened up the possibility that you can acknowledge that there's parts of you that don't want this. Does that make sense? It's not going to work to try and push those parts away. These are parts of you, okay? These are parts of you that I actually think are probably like, yeah, I know what's going to happen. If you take us down that road, we're never going to have any fun. We're never going to get any rest. We're never going to get it to relax. Does that make sense? Okay. So they're actually values that are suppressed. And if you make one part of you win and the other part of you has to lose, then you're going to suffer. Okay.
That makes sense.
So I'm going to suggest that your 100% yes is probably going to be health becoming higher on your list, and strength becoming a higher value for you, and learning to have fun, relax, whatever it is for you, those things that are kind of suppressed and maybe that you got in trouble for.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. I had no idea about how much resistance was coming from the whole thought of being lazy,
Yeah.
you know, and that that I'm not disciplined enough to be consistent.
Yeah.
And so that makes, like, I have a totally different picture now in my mind of, oh, this makes sense why it's been such a struggle.
Exactly.
And it's embarrassing. It's like, come on, let's do it.
It should be just easy. Come on, but it isn't.
I know. All these people I know are exercising all the time. I'm like, what is my problem?
Yeah, but
so it's helpful. What?
They have other
They
issues.
what? Okay, I'll hold on to that.
They're attached to doing that, but they're having trouble over here in their business, or they're having trouble over here in their relationship, or they're having trouble, you know, with something else. Everybody's got something, but
Okay.
once you see it, you cannot be a victim of it anymore. It cannot just hold you down anymore. You'll know that's the thing. You've seen that through a doorway, but do more tapping on that and see where that leads.
Okay, thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thanks for all that support out there.
yeah, okay. I'm just going to make you back to, I've got to do it up here. Sorry. I'll put you back as attendee. Thank you. And thank you. Obviously, already people say, giving some feedback. Bill says, great work, Maureen. Thank you for being vulnerable here. Martha, hands up. Teresa, fantastic. And thank you. All right. So let me just come back and share a little bit more with you, because I mentioned about value. So ultimately, some of that may be confusing for the newcomers, and I'm sorry if I'm going a little bit fast here. For a total newcomer, it's like the process of tapping is new, then the process of using intentions is new, and then for those who are even familiar with tapping, the way we do it in intention tapping compared to EFT is got a lot of differences with it. But the simple thing, if I can go back here, is that we're identifying the blocks. And the minute you identify a block, whether you have a blocking thought or you have a disturbance in the body, if you have a blocking thought, you can start saying, I release all my emotional attachments to this thought or this belief, you know, like I'm lazy. A lot of you will have that belief, okay? So you can just simply put that in the statement. I release all my emotional attachments to I'm lazy. And then just let it do what it does. You don't have to keep repeating it. You just let it do what it does, keep tapping, and then notice what comes next. And then you might have the thought, yeah, I'm just not disciplined enough. So now that's the next thing. So you say, I release all my emotional attachments to I'm not disciplined enough. And you keep tapping the whole time, and then you see where that leads. And maybe now you realize that you have this feeling in your stomach. And so you go, okay, there's a disturbance in my stomach. I restore the right energy flow to my stomach. And now you keep going, and then you have a memory or an image. And then, you know, maybe you have a memory of being told off for being told you were lazy by your grade 6 teacher. So now you say, I release all my emotional attachments to this memory, or I release all my emotional attachments to her words or his words. And then again, you just keep going and follow whatever happens. This is really, really the simple way of doing this process. And of course, you know, you can learn to do it in much more sophisticated ways. And we teach, you know, the stuff I'm teaching here for self-help is very different to what we teach our practitioners. But the basics are the same. So I was starting to mention values, and values are a crucial part of, I think, success in life, and I think achieving any goals. If you're not happy, if you're not successful, if you're not getting what you want, if you're not doing what you want, it's probably because of a challenge with values. And it may be that you haven't worked out what's really important to you and what you really want. And, you know, maybe you're spending time on things that are not important to you. So the starting point is to work out what's most important and spend your time on that and put your energy into that. And then to set goals based on your values and live your life from your highest values. The challenge is that it's not just that simple. It's good, and a lot of people do work on values. It's good to say, what's really important to me, what really matters to me. And anyone who knows me knows this mad mob that I, am so fortunate to have as my little family. They're most important to me. And underlying that, what's most important to me, the real value is love. Love and connection and fun and support and all the things that go with family for me. And they may not be your values. So then you ask, what's most important to me? What really matters to me? And then you identify those things. And then, of course, you set goals based on your values. So values at their core are actually beliefs. There are beliefs about what's most important to feel and beliefs about what's most important to experience. And therefore, they are our strongest emotional drivers. So we link those feelings to certain things. And therefore, we are drawn to seek out some experiences and to avoid other experiences. But here's the thing, okay? Maureen learned to link negative feelings to whatever's considered lazy. So that might include relaxing, that might include self-care, okay? I'm just projecting here, and I know that's true for some of you, that, you know, you go to do something that's self-care and your mind goes, you know, gives you a feeling of guilt because, or your mind doesn't, you're attached to a feeling of guilt because that's been linked to being a negative, you know, what I would call an avoid value in your system, okay? So we're drawn to seek some experiences and avoid other experiences. The thing is, some of these were hardwired into our nervous system by what happened to us in our life. So some of us have had pain linked to certain things, which could be helpful to us. But they were linked to pain at that time in our lives because that's what we needed to avoid because of, you know, the fact that we were living in a war zone, or we were living in a place which was punitive, or we did have a teacher who used, you know, reward and punishment on us. If you're not happy, that's almost certainly a sign that you have a values challenge or a conflict between your values. So first of all, it's about getting in touch with what you really want. And then it's actually realizing that you can have a conflict where you want this and you want that. You want this, but you think that's gonna come. And so then we apply the process of intention tapping to release those attachments to false values and to those values conflicts to help you to get clear on what your true values are, and so that you can live your values. So that's the process. Now, how do we do that? And I'm not really going to have time because we're down to our last 5 minutes here to do another demonstration on this. What I might be able to do, because I'm doing 2 webinars in the one day, I'm going to give you the recordings of both webinars, and I might see if I can do a session more focused on values in the next webinar, and you can get hold of that recording and you can watch that recording. Maybe you can skip through the content and just get to the coaching demo, and you'll see some work on values. That's going to be my intention anyway. But values are just beliefs. And some of you know that, you know, even though I had love as an important value to me, I actually was a fairly needy person because turns out that, you know, where I learned that love was so important was a lot of experiences where I didn't feel loved. And so the love that I actually had was more a desperate kind of love rather than a true loving, giving, expansive kind of feeling. And I never really felt that I was getting enough because I hadn't actually felt that I had received enough. So I was still attached to the feelings of not having enough whilst constantly seeking more. And so the problem was, because I was still attached to that feeling of being unloved from my childhood, then you could love me lots and lots and lots, and I wasn't able to hold on to it. I wasn't able to actually experience it. When I did tapping on that, and I basically did my own workshop, I went through the process of applying the tapping, and now I would use intention tapping. When I did that back then, it was just the simple energy techniques. I was simply tapping on the value of love and where I learned that love was so important, and all those experiences of feeling unloved and unlovable. And as they started to clear up, I started to feel better about my father in particular, who I'd spent so long being angry at. I felt better about myself, and I was able to experience the love of my own little family in ways I had never been able to experience it before. And I realized that I don't have to prove myself to be loved. I don't have to, be an intergalactic megastar to be loved, because I've released my emotional attachments to the beliefs of what's required for me to get love and to the feelings of not being loved. Now, it might seem strange for me to suggest to you that you can actually get a long way just doing what I've shown you today, even if you don't know how to do it perfectly. Just take the intention statements and the tapping and start applying them to some of your values and to any of those conflicts that you're having. And the conflicts start with anything that you're not getting yourself to do, or that you're like, should I do this or should I do that? Just start applying the intention statements to that, and you're going to find that some of it is going to work itself out. If you want to go further, of course, please come and learn more about intention tapping with me. We have level 1 online workshops. They're usually done over 3 days, where we do 4 hours each day. There are different time options to suit different parts of the world. I'm afraid for the people in the US, the next one that's coming up, if you're on the East Coast, that'll be going from 8 p.m. until midnight your time. But then when we do the level 2 is able to be much more time friendly because we spread it over a longer period. But if you're able to stay up, those of you on the West Coast in US, it'll be a little bit more time friendly for you. We also have times that are more friendly for UK and Europe and so on. And all of the times are pretty okay for those in Australia, because that's where I am, of course. So those are on the intentiontapping.com website, and the events and training page has the listing of all the events that we have coming up. And in particular, because we're talking about 100% yes, I would love for some of you to come join me in 100% yes. And in that process, we work through these steps, and we work through what success is to you. We actually show you how to apply the process to release your emotional attachments to blocking beliefs, in particular identity beliefs about yourself, but also your beliefs about whatever it is you want to do, beliefs about exercise, beliefs about discipline, beliefs about relationships, whatever it is, the area that you want to improve. And this is a 6-month process. And I haven't actually raised the price. I know everybody's got inflation going crazy around the world. I haven't raised the price for the last 4 years in this program. It's still 499 Australian dollars for the whole 6-month process. Although it's 90 minutes, it usually goes a bit longer because I can't help myself. And it's just a beautiful process in a supportive group where we help you to clarify what it is that you really want and help you to really go for it 100% and release whatever's been holding you back. We use intention tapping the whole time, and there are actually a whole bunch of bonuses as well. So apart from the fact that you get the program, you get the recordings, there are 2 different groups operating. You get the recordings of both groups. You also get some recordings of other programs that I've run, including what I call the Go For It program, which is a self-paced program of 31 short videos, the Power of Intention Tapping, which gives you the basics of using intention tapping to change your life, and a program on overcoming procrastination with intention tapping that I presented, and the 100% Yes ebook. And you get to be part of an online support community, and everybody supports each other. I think it's a beautiful process. There's a huge amount of value. As I mentioned, it's $4.99 Aussie. In US, it's like $3.79 US for the whole 6-month program, or you can pay monthly. And those are on the EFTdownunder.com site. So it's EFTdownunder.com/yes-tapping-group. And I will send out the link after the webinar. But if you're watching this on YouTube or you're looking online, just put those things into the browser, and you should be able to see the full details of the process. It's a lovely thing. And a lot of the people that I've worked with over the years have come back and done it 2 or even 3 times, because they changed their whole ideas about what success is, and they're freed up to have a life which is different to what they thought they wanted before. Thanks, Pam, for your comments. Pam's been through 100% Yes program, so thanks for your endorsement. Thanks everybody for coming today. We have run out of time. 75 minutes is such a short amount of time for doing stuff like this. I hope you found this helpful. And if you're brand new to intention tapping, you can go and find more on intentiontapping.com. Just on that website, there are lots of free videos. Also on my YouTube. My YouTube is Wells Down Under. Wells Down Under. And there are lots of other programs that I've done there. You can tap along for free on there, and you can get access to lots of information. But if I get a chance to see you, whether it's online or face-to-face in the next little while, it'll be a privilege, and I'd love to be able to help you along your journey to go further in doing what you want and getting what you want. So thanks for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time. The recordings will be out within the next 24 hours. You'll be sent an email with links for that. As I said, you'll be able to have a look at the recording of the other group as well, and hopefully, there'll be a bit more in there for you. Sometimes I present a little bit different content, but even though the content will be largely the same, watch the coaching and tap along to that, and you'll get value from doing that as well. And I look forward to seeing you when our paths cross at the right time. So thanks again. Thanks everybody, and thanks for those people who've been writing the lovely comments. Okay, ciao for now.